Longhaultanker here. We're coming at you tonight from Prescott, Arkansas, the Love's Truck Stop in Prescott, Arkansas. We left out from Houston this morning. We're on our way to a small country town to the northeast of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, with delivery on Thursday morning. So here we are in our first night on the road for this trip. I've got a few things to say. They may not be pleasant, but I'm going to say them. But first, let's just go ahead and get started a little bit. Put some soap water. Got the puck soaking. Then I'll introduce the equipment for tonight. For our soap, we're using the Stirling Soap Company Haverford, which is a very interesting soap, at least in color. It smells good. It's an aftershave. Look how dark that is. That's unusual. And for our brush tonight, shaving brush, we're using a Shavemac Americana, and it's about a 22 to 24, I'm going to say it's on the smaller side, 22 to 24 millimeter premium silver tip Badger. In all honesty, I will say that when I bought it, I thought it was bigger than what it was. When I got it in and opened the package and saw how small it was, there was a noticeable sigh of, really? Okay. Now my razor for tonight is the one that we were working on last week. The Wade & Butcher, the celebrated hollow ground, medium size. It says, I don't know if you can read that or not, and you know, sometimes these things are difficult. It's a post 1891. It says Sheffield, England on the tang, and I have several Sheffield razors, Frederick Reynolds, Taylor Eyewitness, Joseph Elliott, 3 or 4 Wade & Butchers. And let's go ahead and get lathered up here and get going. Interesting brown color coming off of the soap. So we'll try that. We said we're going to go a little bit lighter than what we've been going to see if that works. I've got a little over, well, I've got about 36 hours. I shaved yesterday morning. The shave was done and I was out of the bathroom by 11 o'clock, 11:30 yesterday morning, and it's approximately 6 o'clock. It's the 29th, I think it's the 29th of November. It's Monday. And so that Wade & Butcher razor is one we've been working on with the conical 1 hone, 1 stone honing. I did a shave with it last Tuesday. It's up on YouTube. And I said I might spend some more time with it, and I did. I got a unsolicited comment, which, you know, that's kind of what we do, isn't it? Unsolicited. So here's a couple of rules that my mother taught me, and your mother should have taught you. One is, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it. And number 2 is, better to remain silent and have people think you a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. So, when making comments in a public forum, unless you just want to be a damn fool, go ahead. But you're not going to get any positive, you're not going to get any thumbs up, you're not going to get any little red hearts. And people that you shoot messages off to, negative, unsolicited, unappreciated, trying to make somebody else look small, I suppose in order to make yourself look big, don't work. I said when I started this adventure back up, I recorded some videos last year and went dark for a while. But it's this kind of nonsense that I left the big forums to begin with. You little demigods out there that think you have it all worked out, no better than anybody else. I got nothing for you, nothing. Got nothing for you. Now, I've said before, I've been at this now for 6.5 years. That does not have the best of flavors. And I studied this. When I say studied, I watched the videos, read on the forums, I took to heart, I learned my lessons. I started with the gold dollar and union razors, which are gold dollar knockoffs that are sold in the truck stops, and they're very adequate, nothing wrong with them at all for a beginning tool to learn to hone and make your mistakes on. Nothing wrong with them at all. I will credit true experts who I have watched and studied closely, practiced what they said, and have learned what I know, what I think I know. Lynn Abrams, Dr. Matt, the Superior Shave, Jared, Howard Schechner at the Perfect Edge. I visited for a couple of hours with Jared in Jacksonville, Florida. I visited for 4 or 5 hours with Howard Schechner up in Massachusetts when I was on a load up there. I spent a fair amount of time with Dan and his son Steve at Dan's Whetstones on the Arkansas Stones. I have Lynn Abrams and Dr. Matt and Jared for that matter, but more so the first two. I have studied their videos, watched them. What have I got besides time when I'm in the sleeper berth of a truck at night? All right, let's get started here. I just had an alarm go off and turn off my recording, but as you can see, I haven't gotten very far yet. I've said before that I've got no commercial interest. I'm doing these videos for myself. And for those who may want to watch, they're entertainment value, and to any degree that you may think that you find something instructive or educational, great, fine. I'm not holding myself out there necessarily to be a somebody for beginners. And so I'm doing this for me and my grandkids. Now, why would you say that because I spent what I said was a couple of hours honing on this razor, doing the one stone honing on the yellow conical, why would you assume that I have over-honed the razor? Why would you assume that? Am I a damn fool? No, I'm not a damn fool. I know the historic and aesthetic value of this razor. And for someone to think and say that I don't, you're the damn fool. Okay, let's see. Now, knowing the historic and aesthetic value of this razor, you think I'm just going to slap it on the stones and just start grinding away and wear away all the spine? Why would you make any comment about over-honing if you've not seen the razor? This is really the first time I've shown it. When I've gotten it to a point where I think I've got it dialed in, okay? That video from last Tuesday, maybe not, because I went back to the stone to work on it some more for some little while. In fact, even twice more. So I've got about 3 to 4 hours, light pressure, medium pressure. You know, I don't use tape. You know, and even understanding the aesthetic value and the historic value and nature of this razor, it's still my razor. I paid for it. But again, to think that I would grind it down to nothing, the spine. Now, when he says he thinks he thinks I over-honed it, is he more concerned about the wear and tear on the hone or the razor? Well, the way he said it, it's indeterminate. I assume he meant the razor, not the hone. You know, but again, it's why I left the forums to begin with, these demigods. Well, I guess that's the age in which we live. And that's why social media platforms are a mess. I was watching I can't remember his name right now, and I apologize. Bill, I think it is. I was watching him last night, and he was just slinging suds. Got his shirt all messed up. That's a true shaver right there. He's part of Handle Barber Dave, the shaving cadre group, and I enjoy their videos. Now here's something else. If you're going to say something that's contradictory of what some of the people that I regard as experts, like Dr. Matt and Lynn Abrams, another one that's been very instrumental and helpful to me that I would put in that group is Glenn, Gia Six Gun, Gem Star, I believe it is. Now remember, I've got no commercial interests. I have no involvement with these people. No financial, send me a few bucks. I'm not opposed to it. Last night, anyway, if you're going to say something that's in contradiction to those guys, you either got some big ones, or you better have something that's worthwhile to listen to. Now, we should all be open-minded enough to listen. This thing's just killing it tonight. Just popping whiskers right and left. If you've never had a shave on a well-honed conical razor, particularly Sheffield steel, this is just, I'm having a ball doing this. That is feeling good. I'm just a hobbyist. I'm just a hobbyist, that's all, an enthusiast. I guess you could say aficionado. No commercial interest in any of this stuff. And so when I spend money on like the Boker, Count Engelbert, that one with gold all over it, y'all know as much as I do how much those things cost. And that's money out of my pocket. Money I gladly spend, happily, for those kinds of things. Because I want to. Because I'm an enthusiast. I think this, my wife even says, another razor, another stone, another brush, really? I said, yep. All she's got to do is, close the purse. Isn't that a weird looking brown? To assume that somebody doesn't know how to, my age and experience, doesn't know how to take care of their equipment, come on. You got to do better. And if you got something to say that's genuine, no, I'm not even going to go there. There's ways of saying things that do make you look helpful. And but when you come across as a I'm going to use a John Wayne word. When you come across as a popinjay, that's how you're going to be taken. That was wonderful. I started to say a moment ago, if you're going to contradict some of these guys that are out there that are really quite good at what they do. Again, Lynn Abrams, Matt, Jared, and I know in some circles he's not the most popular with the convex stones, but it's his opinion, and he has a right to his opinion. If you got a PhD in physics and engineering and all that stuff and can prove that he's wrong and wasting his time on his convex, knock yourself out. I'm not a particular fan of the convex idea. It don't matter though. he seems to be getting good results. The guy that I was watching last night, he's using the convex stuff, presumably with Jared, the superior shade, as influence, and that's fine. That's if he's getting results and he's happy with it, he's found his niche, and that kind of it. And for me, with the cauticles, Lynn Abrams laid the groundwork. Others that I watched, but I'll tell you who solidified it for me is Dr. Matt. Those 4 videos he has on his YouTube channel are great. I watched them again last night. I watched the first 3 last night. I'm going to watch the 4th one tonight. Can you see how effortless that edge is? It's just whisking those whiskers away. But those remarks that were made, that over honing just because I said I worked on it for a couple of hours, people assume the worst without evidence. That's not how I was raised. It's not the way I raised my children. My son last year before maybe, was on Forged in Fire. And he won his episode. And the way he talked, now he would deny it to this day. My wife said, "That's you. That's the way you would talk. Logic-based, evidence-based. Well, that wouldn't make sense to me. Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? What? That didn't make sense to me, and here's why." And laid it out. Now, I don't know if you got a good look at the razor when I held it up, but under these circumstances, without microscopes and detailed photographs, there's no way you can, it's not, that spine is still quite meaty. I'd say personally, my estimate is that there's well over 90% of that spine still there from original condition. Now I've got a microscope, USB microscope. I've got two handheld, one's a traditional jeweler's loupe that I use sometimes. I use it probably more than anything else. I don't hardly use the USB scope. I'm just not interested in using those things. I know what the purpose of the progression is on a traditional synthetic progression, setting the bevel, going up to about the 8K, then jumping off onto a natural if that's what you want to do. And so when I look, I get under a bright light and I get to looking at it with my old eyes. Let's say I'm just finished the 4K and I'm moving on up to the 8K. After the 4K, I'll go strop it, get underneath the light that I use. And I'm looking for the reflection in the scratch pattern. And if I see any glaring 4K scratch patterns remaining before when I do that, maybe I said it wrong. I said it wrong. When I finish the 8K and I want to move on from the 8K and I look under the light and I still see 4K, I'm not ready to move on. I take it back to the 8K. So you get the idea. I'm looking for the scratch patterns with the naked eye under a light. It's not that big a deal. It's an important step. That feels like butter. Oh, you know, when you watch Dr. Matt's videos on the caudicle, and it was Jared, if you know anything about Jared Connerty of the Superior Shave, I think most, if not all, would regard him as one of the leading authorities on cauticles, if not in the United States, certainly around the world, if not, anyway. And Jared told Dr. Matt that sticking action, you know the stone is done when it's given all that it's got to give. And you know that it's given all that it's got to give when it's doing that sticking action. Well, that's not determinative in all cases. Okay. You know, before I was a truck driver, I was something else. And I dealt a lot with these equivocators and these quibblers. Well, not necessarily. When you will not draw conclusions based from the evidence, there's something wrong with you, not me. I'm presenting the evidence step by step. Here's the conclusion. Watch Dr. Matt's videos and tell me that he doesn't know what he's talking about. You know, some of these guys, you know, you hear, and I saw this on the forums when I was over there too. And I didn't know, you know, not all cauticles are good honing stones. Oh, okay. You just take that as almost a verity. And you can burn through a lot of money. I've got about 5 or 6 Arkansas stones. The high end, translucent, surgical black. I got them from Dan's. I've got them from Norton. And I just love these guys that say, well, you can spend a lot of money on naturals and never really find one that works. And so I thought that I was going to end up with a collection of a half a dozen or more cauticles, you know, at $300, $400 a pop. And the first one I paid full freight for. The second one that I got was a used one, And I set it up on the shelf, and it sat there for like 3 or 4 years. Like I said, I never gave the second one a fair shake until just here recently. This one included the John Crowley conical. The other one's the Howard Schechner. Both of them are select. Howard Schechner's I bought like 4.5 years ago. And which means I bought John Crowley's, I bought his about 3.5 years ago, something like that. This is a small mirror I'm having to deal with. You might be interested to know that I didn't take a shower tonight, so all I did was water prep and shaving soap. And when I say water prep, you know, a hot towel on the face followed by some of that soapy water. Yeah, but I don't know what I'm doing. Does it bother me? Sure. Nobody likes to be degraded, talked down to, treated like a fool. But when you talk, not knowing the facts, I got tepid water tonight and I don't like it. I like the soap. I like the scent. Which for me, that's good enough. You know, again, I'm not a scent guy, note guy. Oh, this smells like. Let's see if I can get some hot water out of this thing. You can look back in the comments and I don't remember which number video it was, but I believe the guy's name was Jeff. And so I'm going to do like Peanut to Jeff Dunham, Jeff Fafa. Jeff Fafa. Jeff Fafa. Jeff. My wife and I can sit and listen and watch Jeff Dunham all day long. Absolutely hilarious. But you know those little puppets he's got on his hands? They're nothing but clowns. Jeff. And that's not taking anything away from Peanut and Walter and Muhammad, and we love them. I think most people do too. Yeah, but I don't know what I'm doing. Well, the soap is performing well, given the tepid water that I've got. I guess straight razor shaving has its, what do you call those guys? All they do, they get their 350 for sitting on a computer all day and popping off. Trolls, that's the word I was looking for. And they pop off and they disappear and you never see or hear from them again, which is fine. Jeff. I've got almost 60 razors now, almost evenly divided between top quality vintage, because that's all I look for. That's all I look for. And you'd be surprised at how little I've paid for some of them. And modern production, like Count Engelbert. I love it. I wrote to this new guy last night. He said, "What a razor." You know, I said, "It is pure indulgence." Oh. That's always a problem spot for me right there. And that's the kind of indulgence that should last a fella at least a year, at least 6 months. No, come Christmas, the request has been approved. Simpson Manchurian Badger, on the way. Not on the way, it hadn't been ordered yet, but that's another trouble spot for me. Right here and right here. You know, it's inevitable when you start throwing names around to people who have influenced you that you forget somebody, and I'm sure I have. But this has just been a marvelous hobby. And I don't count myself by any means in second place to other hobbyists. And I love this. I was determined to take up the honing at the same time I took up the straight razor shaving, and that's all I do. I don't do the DE, I don't do, you know, and that's whatever you want to do, that's fine, but that's just me. That's just me. But I do, since I've taken this up, I haven't touched a cartridge razor, I haven't touched anything else except a straight razor. And That's how I get good at something. I guess the moral of my story is tonight, two of them. Listen to your mother. And don't be a peanut, Jeff Fafa. All right, let's do our little bit of cleanup here. All right, I need to get up close to the mirror. I gotta do I gotta do that too. Yep. Yep. That all feels good. So, I call this Wade and Butcher a home run. I think I got it dialed in pretty good. If you're confident in what you're doing, don't let anybody tell you different. You can ask for advice. You can go to one of the top experts. Everyone that I've ever talked to welcomes the phone call. I go up to Calgary 3, 4, 5 times a year on a load. And more than once, Glenn Mercurio, he lives up in northern Idaho, and I'd be calling him and from time to time. He says, when you come to Calgary, he said, I'll come over and meet you at Great Falls. And I hate to put him out of the way since he's doing me a favor, but I don't ever get to northern Sandpoint. I don't ever get up that way. Oh, you know what? That was stupid. But he's invited me more than once to come and visit with him and do a little one-on-one honing session, which I would love, to actually sit down with these guys. Most of the instruction I've got has either been by telephone. What face-to-face time I've had with these guys has been more in the form of a personal visit than it has any sort of hands-on sort of thing, to my dismay. I think I can call that quits right there. Call that quits. One stone hone from bevel to finish on this. Did it take some time? Yeah. Because the main reason it took so much time? 2, 3, 4 hours, who cares? Is because I did use lighter pressure. And I didn't hone and grind the snot out of it. I was appreciating the aesthetic and historic value of this razor. And so gentle pressure, all the way along. Even when I was using moderate pressure, being careful not to over-hone it because I don't need to take off more steel than is necessary. But you also want to get the bevel set and get a good finish on it so that I can get a shave like this. Oh, this is a beautiful shave. Nothing wrong with it. All right, cleaned up in the pouch. I'm going to say goodnight. We used the Wade & Butcher. We used the Shavemac Americana 22 millimeter, I'm going to call it. We used the Stirling Soap Company, Haverford. And so, thank you. If you have anything to say of interest, be respectful, be courteous, and don't be a jackass. Thanks for watching. Bye.